Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5, Qapla, and welcome to my Star Trek Lower Decks Episode 5 review. The title of this episode is Cupid's Errant Arrow. And as the title would suggest, there's a love story to be found here. Okay, before we get to spoilers, there's no pre-credit scene. The episode opens directly to the credits. We're about 25 and a quarter minutes in total length, of which 22 minutes or so is actual story. There are some pacing issues. There's 3 plots thrown into this 22 minutes. And with that, we're going to just have to get into spoilers. So we have an A plot, a B plot, and a C plot. The A plot, and I'm only calling it the A plot because it's what the title is based on, is the love story. We find out that Boimler has a girlfriend. He's been talking about her for over 30 days. So I have no idea how much time passed between this episode and the previous episode. When Mariner first comes on screen, she's filthy. So I almost think that this is like a direct continuation from the end of last week's episode where she had all these terrible and dirty jobs to do on the ship. But then we find out that Boimler has been, had this girl for 30 days. He's been talking about her, making logs about her every day. So that doesn't fit in with our timeline. So like an episodic show, we have absolutely no idea how much time has passed. No big deal. The love story is this. Boimler is in love with this woman. The woman is much more attractive than Boimler, we're told. We do see her. She is a very attractive woman as cartoon women go. And Boimler doesn't quite seem to be in her league, shall we say. Mariner, who is watching out for Boimler, believes that this woman is in fact either an android, a shapeshifter, some type of alien spy. Whatever she is, she's bad news, and she's convinced she just wants to eat Ensign Boimler's brain or otherwise do bad things. We have a pretty cool flashback of Mariner to back when she was on USS Cerritos. And it actually takes place at Deep Space Nine. And we see the USS Cerritos, and I believe it's called an Olympus-class starship. It's the starship we last saw in All Good Things, the final episode of The Next Generation. And it's a medical ship. It's got this sphere that Dr. Beverly Crusher was captain of in All Good Things. It's got this sphere instead of a saucer. But this takes place back in DS9, several years before the current time, and they're actually wearing the DS9 uniforms, the gray uniforms. And we see Mariner with a completely different hairstyle talking to a couple, a Starfleet couple, and Mariner's saying, oh, how they're the best couple, and the guy is the best guy she can think of. And she says, either you're a great guy. He's like, oh, I'm not perfect. She's like, well, you're either perfect or you're a something shapeshifter. And like on cue, almost like a Men in Black alien scene, this giant alien creature comes out of like a bodysuit, rips apart the human body, and starts munching away on the girl. And everybody starts shooting it with phasers as Mariner yells, "Shapeshifter!" Not a changeling, but just a random shape-shifting alien. And we see Mariner's friend kind of being devoured by this alien creature, and she's having like a PTSD flashback, and we come back to present, and Mariner is telling Boimler she's not going to let another friend's face get melted off, not on her watch. So Boimler is like, well, he's got to go meet his girlfriend. Mariner doesn't even think the girlfriend's completely real at first, thinks it's a holodeck, a hollow illusion, but turns out she is real, and that's when Mariner really thinks that, okay, there's something fishy about her. Well, Boimler finds out that the girl happened to date another person who was on the Cerritos, a very big, manly man named Lieutenant Jet, and Boimler feels completely inadequate when his girlfriend, Barb, and Lieutenant Jet find out they're going to be working together on their mission. And he picks her up, and he's moving her all around. He's very hands-on with her. So I could understand why Boimler's getting a bit jealous, feeling a bit inadequate. But she's like, no, no, it's nothing. We're just friends, of course. So Boimler, this whole episode, he's worried that she's going to end up with Jet. Mariner's worried that Boimler's going to end up dead, or at least have his face melted. They all make fools of themselves trying to, prevent what they think is going to happen. At the end, and again, spoilers, if I didn't say it already, spoilers. It turns out that there was a parasite involved, but it wasn't in the woman. It turned out the parasite was in Boimler. And the parasite uses a pheromone that causes the first woman that he sees to fall in love with him. And, that's probably why Barb fell in love with Boimler. Of course, once they remove the parasite, Barb says, oh, well, Boimler's like, oh, does this mean you don't love me anymore? And Barb at first says, of course not. I'm a Starfleet officer. I wouldn't let just pheromones get in the way of my feelings. So Boimler was happy. And then a minute later, she's like, of course, though, I'm going to have to put all my time into my work. So I'm not going to have time for us anymore. And he realizes he is being dumped. He's being dumped so she can work on studying this parasite. Okay, that's the old story. Man gets parasite. Woman falls in love with man. Woman discovers parasite in man. Woman tries to decide if she's in love with the parasite or the man. You know what? Futurama did it a lot better. The B plot, and perhaps the most interesting to me, is the fact that the Cerritos had to meet up with this much nicer looking Starfleet vessel called the USS Vancouver, which we're told is a Parliament class ship. And it's a very cool looking ship, far better than the Cerritos. No awkward pylons holding on the warp nacelles. This is what the Cerritos should have been, but for whatever reason, it's not. Anyway, we're told that the Vancouver is actually a very important ship in Starfleet. They have really heavy-duty missions, complicated missions involving engineering. And in this case, they're at a planet and they have to implode a moon, or else it's going to destroy an entire planet and kill everybody on the planet. Then the Cerritos had to come and help. But for whatever reason, and the captain of this ship is a very, conceited person. She knows she has a much better ship than the Cerritos. She even goes out of her way to tell Captain Freeman that, if Freeman works hard, maybe one day she'd be able to have a ship like the Vancouver. And Freeman is rolling her eyes. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm just very humbled. She's like, shut the F up, lady. But it's basically like visiting the Enterprise almost. You're on the inferior ship. However, despite this being such a very important vessel with apparently a reputation that precedes it, apparently nobody on this vessel has any diplomacy experience. And even though I don't remember Freeman having any particular big diplomacy experience either, Freeman becomes in charge of the entire mission. We don't even get to see the captain of the other ship, I don't think, again, after the first couple scenes. Freeman has to stop the aliens from fighting. Despite the fact that this moon is going to destroy a planet, there's a group of like 20 aliens fighting in the captain's ready room. And some aliens are saying, well, we pray to this moon. Other aliens are saying their tides are impacted by the moon for their farming. Yet other aliens are saying that they live on this moon. One alien is saying that this whole thing's a conspiracy theory. Moons don't fall out of orbit. It's the government just trying to control them. And so Freeman has to figure this all out. Long story short, she does. It takes most of the episode, but she manages to get all the aliens in that room except one to agree to a plan. So all the other aliens walk out. There's one alien left, and he's like, you don't understand. If you destroy this moon, then my entire planet's going to be destroyed. And he's on a whole different planet. All these other aliens are on the planet, the third planet in the system. He's on the second planet in the system. And to her credit, Captain Freeman is like, well, we're Starfleet. We'll keep working on it. He's like, it's an impossible problem. You either save one planet or the other. He's like, what about the Prime Directive? Freeman says the Prime Directive doesn't apply here. He's going on about there's going to be blood on her hands. And finally he lets slip. He's like, if you go down this current course of action, you're going to ruin both of us. And she's like, wait, both? How many people are on your planet? And he admits it's just him and his wife. So she ends up saying, just destroy the moon, implode the moon. She gives the order. Of course, with just seconds to spare, they implode the moon. Everybody's happy except the guy and his wife. He's pissed because they just had the floors redone. But he also said he was very rich, so, he'll land on his feet. The third plot, and the plot I found perhaps most interesting, if only because of one scene, was Tendi and Rutherford. They get assigned to work on the Vancouver, and there's an engineering lieutenant who gives them an assignment, and he gives them these special T-88 scanners. These are like the top of the line devices. Apparently, Tendi and Rutherford said that these weren't even supposed to be out yet. It would be like giving a PlayStation 5 to a gamer today, even though the PlayStation 5 is not supposed to be out for another couple months. They were enthralled. They were so happy to get their hands on this. And he even told them, he's like, and guess what? Whichever one of you finishes first will get to keep it. So that sets off a kind of competition between Tendi and Rutherford as they are literally running around the ship trying to get their assignments done first. So one of them gets to keep their super T-88 device. And there's a great scene where they each are arguing like, well, when I get to keep mine, Rutherford says when he gets to keep his T-88, he's going to be, the hot stuff in engineering. And they cut to a scene where Rutherford is standing on the warp core, holding up the T-88, and you see all the other engineers kind of bowing down to him's greatness. And Tendy's like, nuh-uh, when I bring the T-88 back to sickbay, everybody's going to be worshiping me. And you see Tendi sitting on the side of a bio bed that's floating like 15 feet in the air, and she's holding up her T-88, and you see all the doctors and nurses and even the cat woman, Dr. Tana, are all worshiping, at Tendi for the fact that she has this T-88 device. And as an engineer who went through college, it reminded me a lot of not the T-88, but the TI-85 or 86, 82, 82, and 92, which are the Texas Instrument graphing calculators. And back in the late 1990s, if you went to college at that time, you needed a graphing calculator. And the TI-82 was kind of like the entry-level graphing calculator. It would get by, but the TI-85, which is what I had, was kind of the recommended one. A couple of years later, they came out with the TI-86, which was basically a TI-85 with a little faster processor. So that was like a little bit newer. And then if you were, independently wealthy, you wanted to be the envy of your engineering class, to which I was not, you had the TI-92, which had so many more buttons and a bigger screen. It was like a laptop, as a calculator. It was basically what I picture the T-88 to be. And like, okay, what I would have done for TI-92 at the day, that's what they're doing to try to keep their T-88s. It turns out, of course, that it was a ploy. He was never giving them the T-88s to take to the Cerritos. He was going to give the T-88s, but make them transfer to the Vancouver. And of course, neither one of them wanted to transfer when they thought about it because their friends are on the Cerritos, which makes no sense. Honestly, Rutherford and Tendi both were very career-minded people. and they know the Vancouver is a big upgrade to the Cerritos. So I would have suspected they would have jumped at the opportunity to transfer to the Vancouver, but for plot reasons, neither of them wanted to come over. And then they found out that the lieutenant on the Vancouver was trying not just to move them to the Vancouver, he was going to take their place on the Cerritos, because he says that it's just too much work on the Vancouver, and they deal with things that are just too important. It's too stressful. And he would love to be on a ship like the Cerritos, where it's a lot less stress. Anyway, there's a scene where they take the pad from him because he's about to put in the transfer orders. So they steal the pad from him to prevent him from putting in transfer orders. He chases them through the ship. They get to a turbo lift, and he's standing there with a phaser, and he's aiming it at Rutherford. He's like, "Don't make me shoot you." And he's nervous. He's like, "This isn't me. This isn't me. Don't make me shoot you." And honestly, I'm thinking, are they really doing this? Because it looks like, and I hate to bring up race, but you have a white guy and you have Rutherford, who's African American, who's black. I don't know actually if he's African American or not, but he's black. And the white guy's holding the phaser very nervously. And I almost get the feeling, are they trying to portray like a scared white cop with like a black suspect? And, and of course he actually shoots. He shoots Rutherford accidentally, but of course it's a phaser on stun. So he doesn't kill Rutherford. But I was like, I don't know, are they really doing this BLM thing? And then I wonder if I just seeing that because that's what's on the news every day, and maybe it had nothing to do with that. But I honestly think that this was a BLM scene. I don't know. He actually shoots Rutherford twice, and despite it being on stun, due to the power of plot, Rutherford just gets a little sting rather than actually getting stunned. He shoots him once accidentally, and then once when he drops the phaser, it shoots again and hits Rutherford in the elbow and the leg, but Rutherford is fine. Anyway, they end up blackmailing the guy, not to be racist, blackmailing the guy into not only canceling the transfer orders, but also giving them a couple of T-88s to bring back to the Cerritos. But when they get back to the Cerritos, both Tendi and Rutherford have both stolen an entire duffel bag full of T-88s. And they didn't know the other one was going to steal the duffel bag, so they both realized that they brought more T-88s than they ever could have imagined back with them. So I guess they'll be heroes. And that was it. I mean, this episode was chock full of member berries. Tons of member berries, from Q and Captain Picard Day to the entire scene on DS9, the DS9 gray uniforms. They talk about Captain Kirk and even Tucker from Enterprise. There's a scene where Boimler says that this guy Jet is a Captain Kirk sundae with Tucker sprinkles. Mariner brings up the Sulaband, which was only in Enterprise. They go all around the Trek universe. Mariner has pictures on a wall like out of Homeland, like out of Carrie's house in Homeland, where she's trying to put together the grand conspiracy of who Boimler's girlfriend is. And it's got all pictures from humpback whales to the salt monster to a Suliban to it looked like Lurser and Bator, the Klingon sisters, a Cardassian. Also, she thought perhaps Boimler's girlfriend could have been a transporter clone, so they have a duplicate of her, like Riker's transporter clone. It's full of member berries. Can you make a decent show with just member berries? No. But if you put a Trek-related plot to it, it's not the worst thing in the world. It isn't. It isn't. And honestly, when all is said and done, I'm giving this episode a 6 out of 10. It's a perfectly decent episode. It's a filler. It's like a filler episode. It's like any decent episode of TNG or DS9. It's not a memorable episode. It's not a great episode, but it's also not Move Along Home. It's not Threshold. It's not, I don't know, that episode in TNG where Crusher bangs a ghost. It's better than those. It's not, best of both worlds. It's not The Way of the Warrior, but it's a decent, forgettable, but not insulting episode. At least that's the way I saw it. Mamo Prey, she did find it a bit more insulting, and I get her logic. And when you watch it, she said, you watch it the first time, it's you get some chuckles, but when you think about it, it gets her more angry. And I get it, and I get if people feel that way. Obviously, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm only telling you mine. 6 out of 10. I could watch this again. I don't have to watch this again. I'm not going to miss it, but we're halfway through the season, and I would say there's been slow and steady improvement so far. I am looking forward to the second half of the season. I don't foresee any 8, 9s, or 10s coming up, but if we get some more 6s and 7s, it's perfectly fine with me. It's something. It's something to do, something to watch. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the review, please remember to comment, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I don't think any more notifications are coming. A lot of people are missing notifications. Please, 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 if you enjoy live streams at all, please subscribe to the Bird O Prey 5X channel. There'll be a link in the description. There'll be a link in the corner. And you can always go to birdopray5.com and get the link to the channel there and subscribe. A lot more of my live streams are going to be on the Bird O Prey 5X channel going forward. That's it, guys. Qapla and Bird out.